Hey guys, here to do my top 10 favorite films of 2016. Um, this isn't going to be like reviews, so I'm not going to go into whole detail in all of the movies. So if you want to know what I think about any of these movies, go check out my reviews. There's a few of them I don't have a review up for, but most of these I do have reviews for, so go and check them out. If I happen to not have one for the one you're interested in, just comment down below and I'll make one. So here we go. Now, before I get into the top 10, I do want to talk about the honorable mentions. These were movies that I really thought were going to be on this list, but then when I was looking at all the movies and I had to make decisions and make cuts, these just did not end up on the list. And the first one is Pete's Dragon. I loved this movie when I saw it in the theater. I'm a big fan of the original classic, and I was so excited for the remake, and they did such a beautiful job with it, but it just did not make the list. Another movie that I really thought was going to be on this was The Nice Guys. I love this movie. It was so funny. I think I watched it like 3 or 4 times within it coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. It's just such a good movie. And Green Room. One of my favorite movies of this year by far. Anton Yelchin was so good in this movie. The whole cast, it was great seeing Patrick Stewart as the villain. But just goes to show how many great movies came out in 2016. This is crazy that none of these movies made it on the list. So, here we go. At number 10, we've got Deadpool. This movie is so good. I had to make sure that this movie was on the list. And the place where it fell in was at number 10. I honestly thought this was going to be one of those where it was going to be a lot higher. But again, so many great movies this year. But this movie is hysterical. It's so much fun. I'll never forget the experience I had going and see it in the theater with my dad and a friend of ours. It was so much fun. I was laughing hysterically. I've watched it 2 or 3 times since getting it on Blu-ray, and it's just so funny. It's just such a good movie. At number 9, Doctor Strange. This movie was so much better than I anticipated it being. Not that I thought it was going to be a bad movie, but I didn't know anything about Doctor Strange going into it, and hearing a lot of the reviews coming out of it had me a little worried. Now, it is Marvel and it's the MCU and everything like that, so I wasn't like overly worried, but I was worried. But coming out of this movie, it by far is up in my top 5 favorite MCU films. Absolutely. So good. Number 8, Don't Breathe. Now, I've just gotten into horror films within the last several years. So I'm still kind of a newbie, and I haven't seen a whole bunch of, horror films and stuff. So, when the news started coming out about this one, I wasn't sure whether I was going to go see it or not. But a friend treated me out to it, and this movie is phenomenal. So good. It's probably my favorite horror movie that I saw this year. I only saw 3, so, there's not really a whole lot there. But out of the ones I saw, this is definitely at the top of the list. This was such a good movie. And it's not really a horror movie. It's a thriller. But the way they do it, it's so creepy. It's so brilliantly made. Stephen Lang is vicious and scary. And he doesn't hardly speak at all. How is that possible? I don't know. Everyone else in this movie is great too. Logan Lerman. Or not Logan Lerman. David... whatever his name is, Minette. I always forget his name. He was great. The whole cast. So yeah, Don't Breathe. Number 8. It's amazing. Number 7, and this is gonna be a weird one because I thought this definitely would make it in the top 5, but it didn't. And that's Captain America: Civil War. By far, my favorite MCU film, I think. So good. It's amazing. I go back and forth between Civil War and Ant-Man because I love Ant-Man. But this movie just has so many different elements. they were able to bring together so many different plot points, and this movie had heart, it had action, it had a great story. Just everything about this movie was spectacular, and I love it, I love it, I love it. Number 6, Midnight Special. Now this movie was one that not a lot of people around me really saw, but I saw a lot of people talking about it online. So after it came out on Blu-ray, I just went out and bought it. Because it was one that I really wanted to see, and none of the theaters around me got it. So I didn't have a chance to see it in the theaters. This movie is by far one of the best movies of this year. And I don't care what anyone says. I love the old 80s kind of style that Nichols gave this movie. It was very reminiscent of like Super 8 or E.T., you know. I just love the story behind this. It was just wonderful. Just such a wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, I can't recommend seeing this movie enough. So here's my top 5. And here I might take a little bit more time to talk about these movies because these are my top 5. So at number 5, we've got Sing Street. Now, again, I wasn't able to make it out to the theaters to see this because nobody got it around me. But Sing Street was great. So good. By the end of this movie, I was bawling. But it wasn't like a sad cry. It was a happy cry. It was a fulfilling cry. And I love that. I love the inspirational movies that move you. And the music was so good in this. The story. I mean, even though I didn't know any of the kids or any of the actors in it. You know, maybe a few. But, you know, I mean, this was virtually an unknown cast. And it was so brilliantly done. I cannot sing the praises of this movie more. This movie is incredible. And number 4, The Jungle Book. What Favreau was able to achieve with this movie is simply groundbreaking. But I would be so wrong if I did not mention the newcomer talent that is Neil Setti as Mowgli. The fact that this kid basically carried this whole movie on his own. As much as I love Ben Kingsley as Bagheera, and I love Bill Murray as Baloo, man, everything in this movie was fake. And yeah, you know, when they were doing the voices, I think, you know, he was there with the other actors to give it a little bit more, you know, natural qualities and stuff. But the fact that this kid, when you're watching it, he is the only real thing in this movie for the vast majority of this film. And that to me is a spectacle that you've got to see. It's phenomenal, especially on Blu-ray. You know, it really does come across. I tried watching, you know, Netflix got it too. I tried watching it on there. Doesn't look as brilliant. You really got to have the Blu-ray so all of that detail comes off. Because streaming it, it looks like you would think it would look. It doesn't look the way that it should, in my opinion. But it's such a good movie. They did a brilliant job with this. I can't wait to see what Favreau does with The Lion King, assuming nothing else happens and he still does it. Number 3, Arrival. By far the best science fiction movie to come out in 2016. This movie was groundbreaking on so many different levels. It had a great cast. It had a phenomenal story. This was another one of those movies that really moved me. It really hit me in a place. And that ending, it's so just, what? You know, like the ending just gets you. It's so out of this world. And it makes you want to go and watch the movie again right after you get done seeing it, because you can't believe that everything ties together in the way that it does, but it does, and it's incredible. I cannot, again, this year had so many good movies, and this movie was great. If you did not get a chance to go see this movie in theaters, you have to watch this when it's out on Blu-ray and DVD. If it's still in theaters around you, please go see this movie. It is amazing. Number 2, Disney's Moana. I didn't think this movie would be my number 2. You know, I mean, they've been advertising this movie for how long now? And, you know, I love Disney movies. I'm a huge Disney guy. Did not think this would be my number 2. It's my number 2. Yeah, it's that good. The music, Lin-Manuel Miranda is fantastic. Like, can we just have him do the music for, like, everything, please? Like, I think moving forward, Disney should just hire him on as the musician for all of their animated movies, because, dude, he's the new Elton John. The story in this movie is so important. The animation is great in this. The water looks so realistic in this movie, and I know that's a weird thing to say, and the hair, like Maui's hair, will look so real. I mean, Disney is just getting better and better and better with their animation. But I love the characters in this movie. The music was so good. Just, there wasn't anything to not like about this movie. And while I know for a lot of people the ending of this movie maybe was a little undercooked, we'll say, but I really enjoyed it. I thought the ending really fit what the movie's message was, and I really, really enjoyed this movie. So which brings me to my number 1. And it really shouldn't be any question, because I haven't mentioned this movie yet. Yes, my number 1 is, without a doubt, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, because this movie is my favorite movie of this year, hands down. I just saw this movie again last night. I went and saw it with my dad, who hadn't seen it yet, and I can tell you, after seeing it a second time, I'm, without doubt, this is my favorite movie of this year. You know, so many of the movies on this list I gave 9s and 10s to. So, you know, there's no movie on this list that doesn't deserve the place it got. I think Deadpool might have been the only one that I was a little under a 9 or a 10 on. Maybe. But Rogue One, what they were able to do with this movie, to give such heart to and such background to such a small piece of what we understood from the original films of Star Wars, and gave that whole little line about the rebels who stole the plans, you know. They just did such a great job. I mean, just everything with it. I mean, there was nothing in this movie that I felt like shouldn't be there. I mean, the music was great. The characters were phenomenal. I mean, I loved Chirrut. I loved Jyn Erso. K2SO. I mean, just everything about this movie is wonderful. And as I say, with a lot of things, or a lot of my reviews, if you have yet to go see Rogue One, go see this movie. What are you waiting for? This movie is phenomenal. If you like Star Wars at all, you need to go see this movie. The only thing that I will say is, I haven't read the whole book yet, but if you haven't seen it yet, you should go ahead and just, depending on how fast you read, go get Catalyst and read it before you go see the movie. That's the only thing I will say. But you don't need to. But that's my recommendation. Because the few chapters that I've read, I can already tell you, oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. And the book takes place before the movie. So that is my top 10 list. To recap really quickly, at number 10, I've got Deadpool. At number 9, I've got Doctor Strange. At number 8, Don't Breathe. Number 7, Captain America Civil War. Number 6, Midnight Special. Number 5, Sing Street. Number 4, The Jungle Book. At number 3, Arrival. Number 2, Moana. And number 1, Rogue One. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Be looking out for my top 3 worst films of 2016. I really didn't go see that very many bad movies this year, so I didn't even have enough to really make a top 10, because I try to stay away from bad movies. But I do have my top 3, so if that's something you want to see, let me know down in the comments, and I will post that soon. And with that, I bid you adieu until next time. Peace out.